Hey guys, hope you're doing well today. Dr. Shook here. In case you can't tell, I'm at a seminar. You guys may have seen some of my earlier posts, but I'm at a seminar today, and we're learning about some strategies for working on detoxification of the body, working on really looking at considering how trying to understand how the body is really intended to work from a dietary perspective, and it was looking a lot at like ancient nutrition and other cultures and the history of diet basically, and it's very, very interesting. We're talking a lot about ketosis and intermittent fasting and basically metabolic pressure, changing dietary approaches and caloric intake. It's fascinating, and it's actually, I'm really excited to be able to bring some of this into my practice. But anyway, what I wanted to talk to you guys about was I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the difference, or I wanted to ask you a question actually. Would you rather be treated for, let's say, your thyroid, or would you rather be coached? And it's a really important question. And the reason that I posed this question, and I want you to think about this, is because a lot of people, they don't realize, and it's the truth, it's the absolute truth. They don't realize that health is an ongoing endeavor that you have to have, you personally, you have to take personal responsibility for. If you want to be healthy, then you have to be your own advocate. You have to learn how to be healthy. You have to be willing to learn how to be healthy. And ultimately, you have to do it. So when you think about what being treated means, like what does it mean to be treated, right? If you're treated, then someone's doing something to you, right? Many of you guys know this, some of you may not, but I don't treat a single thing. Like, we don't treat any conditions. I don't treat anything at all, because what I do is I actually help people understand how to help themselves. I coach them on how to help themselves and empower themselves so that they ultimately can help themselves in the future. Because the reality is that health is an ongoing, and the striving to be healthy, whether it be with autoimmunity or Hashimoto's or any problem, is an ongoing endeavor that you have to take upon yourself. So what I do is I help teach people the strategies that I've learned to help themselves, so that they can continue to help themselves and have health. Because there's no treating. That implies that someone's doing something to you. Like we don't treat any conditions or anything. What I do is I actually work with people to try to help them to get as healthy as possible. Give them the roadmap, help them investigate it, give them the roadmap to figure that out and to help themselves. So we work through this process together, but then ultimately they take over and they do the healing on their own, because that's the only way that we're really going to be healthy, guys. That's the only way we're going to be really healthy, and that you're going to be able to achieve health. Quite frankly, I want people to get better and as healthy as possible, and then I want them to graduate from me. You don't see me anymore. If you need me, I'm there, but you graduate, meaning you got the tools. We've put together, we've investigated, we've put together the plan. You're working it. We maybe check in a few times, but then you graduate, and then you're taking care of yourself, because you've learned the strategies and the things that we discovered and that I taught you to help yourself. So that's really something that's super important, because a lot of people think that they are going to be treated. I'm going to go to the doctor and they're going to do something to me. I guess certain things need to be treated, right? But the things that I do, they're not treatments. There's no treatment. We're working on primarily dietary and lifestyle things that we're working on. And if we identify something that needs to be, killed or eradicated or whatever, then I still don't know if I would call that a treatment, because a treatment implies a diagnosis of a label of a disease process. And it's really more of, to be truly healthy, it's a learning process. It's an ongoing thing that needs to be done and undertaken by you as your, if you want to have long-term health. So I just am a facilitator of, applying that guidance and direction and knowledge, and then you run with it, right? Hey guys, how are you doing today? Trees and tall, use that. Yeah, I understand, Barbara. That's I would agree with you. Yeah, I know there's lots of challenges, guys. I mean, what we're trying to do is, what I'm trying to do is change, is empower you guys and give you differences in perspective, for one thing, on how to help yourself, and then also give you knowledge on how to start helping yourself. So there are there's a gap in healthcare, a huge gap in healthcare right now, but this is what we're doing and what I teach is really, that's the movement. That's what people want. And ultimately, that's what doctors want. They don't want to do what they're currently doing in their practices. Believe me, your doctors are miserable. So yes, I think I was just responding to one of the questions, guys. Roxanne says, "I would love to be treated." I guess it's all what our definition of treatment and coaching is. Coaching is really the key, especially with like chronic health conditions, guys. I mean, because they're usually processes that are occurring due to diet and lifestyle. And yeah, I mean, you start looking at infections, environmental chemical reactivity, and things like that. It's all relative. What I primarily do is help investigate what's going on. Like, we really dig and investigate, and then we come up with with a specific plan that I teach you, and then we start implementing that. We start working through it. So I consider that coaching. Someone might consider that treating, but I really is coaching, because what I'm trying to do is teach you. Like, if you notice, most of the stuff I'm doing is what? It's teaching. And I mean, that's what doctor means, right? It means teacher. That's exactly what it means. It means teacher. And so I'm a teacher, I guess, at heart, and I'm constantly trying to empower people to help themselves. So when I think of my role, it's not to treat anything. It's really to educate and to teach you. Thanks, Roxanne. Not going to the Kentucky Derby. Actually, I'm in Atlanta, and I'm at a seminar. So yeah, this is, you guys usually see me when I'm in the sauna, but I do wear suits. Suits some. It's not really my favorite, most comfortable thing, but I absolutely try to look professional occasionally. Thank you for the compliments, guys. I appreciate you guys. Hey, Roxanne. Roxanne says, "Hey, can you live without thyroid medications?" If you need thyroid medications, you cannot. I mean, meaning you cannot be deficient. It's essential to life. You do not want to be deficient in thyroid hormones, guys. You don't want to be. So I know a lot of you guys are like, "I don't want to take a pill for the rest of my life." And you know what? You may not have to, but then again, there's some people do have to take. I'm going to lower this a second. Some people do have to take thyroid medications for their entire lifetime, guys. And it's quite all right. Listen to me. Please listen to me very clearly here, because this is extremely important. If you're deficient in thyroid hormone and you don't take it, you are looking at, you can cause degeneration of every single cell in your body, because every single cell in your body requires thyroid hormone. So without it, I mean, guys, think about this for a second. Women can't be deficient in thyroid hormone during pregnancy, or there's going to be problems with development of the baby. Children, and as we're growing, they cannot be deficient in thyroid hormone. Why? Because they'll have developmental delays. Whenever you're an adult and you're mature, if you don't have adequate thyroid hormone stimulating the cells of your body, you degenerate. Your brain degenerates. Everything degenerates. So can you live without thyroid medicine? Not if you need it. And listen, guys, I don't want anyone to have to take medications long term. Or I'm not an advocate of that at all. I want you to be as healthy as possible. But listen, there's a time and a place for just about everything. So I try not to be too radical in anything that I say or do, because I think that, the type of approach that we're taking here, like I've said it before, you need to have a team, but the functional medicine approach and the approach that I take is very much designed and revolves around doing what's best for the person. And there's usually a combination of things that need to be done, right? There's usually a combination of things. If you have to take thyroid hormone, guys, take it. It's just like if you needed insulin, right? If you needed insulin and you didn't have insulin, it can create major problems. It's essential and vital to life. So we got to have it, okay? And don't be discouraged by that, because just remember, it's all about living the best life that you possibly can. And it's not about getting really caught up on, am I going to have to take this thing forever? I hate to take it. Well, I would rather focus on the fact that I'm going to have a much better life, and that I'm going to feel better if I need it, with it than without it, right? I'm going to have a much better life. And really the fact is, if you're taking medications, guys, and you don't feel well, there's another mechanism at play. It's not just the fact it's the medication. So many people, the only thing that's ever been told to them is, hey, you've got a thyroid problem and you need to take medication. And they just know that they hate the medication. If you were thriving and you had vibrant health, I think you'd have a different perspective. I think you'd be like, I don't care, I feel great, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, right? The fact is, you probably need further investigation, or there's other mechanisms, there's other chemistry, and there are other things at play. Really cool thing is, so I'm at this seminar this weekend, and it's amazing because one of the things that, we use lots of different diets in my office and in practice. And what I'm studying and what I've been experimenting with myself is a ketogenic kind of diet. But what you learn really quickly is that, like, ketogenic diets, for you guys that don't know, it's where your body burns fat for energy rather than sugar for energy. What you learn really quickly is that no diet is really best, right? Like, so you can't be on ketogenic diets. When you look at how people and humans have lived for, in ancient cultures, right? Cultures that are untouched by all this abundance of food, prior to all of, agriculturalism and all the abundance of stuff that we have, especially like in the U.S. I mean, there's never a period of famine. It's always feast. We always have food, in general, right? I'm not talking about unusual circumstances where, there's poverty and whatnot. I'm talking about, let's talk about, like, average person has access to food all the time. There's never famine. Well, in ancient times, there was feast and there was famine. And so our bodies have adapted, our bodies adapted to that. And they actually are designed to go through those periods of feast and famine. So when you start looking at diets of our modern lifestyle and our modern diet, it's detrimental to our health. I believe that. And so one of the things that I'm learning is that modification of your diet, especially metabolic pressure, or changing dietary habits to where you have you eat and then maybe you fast and you measure your ketones to see if you're in ketosis. You go into ketosis some. That's, guys, I truly, if you've heard me talk before, you know that a lot of times I say this: if the further that we deviate from nature and from how we were intended to interact with our environment, over thousands of years, then the further that we get away from that, I believe the sicker that we become, and the more that we lose touch with how our body's really designed to work. And so when you look for the wisdom of, like, really, what are we doing wrong to ourselves? You can look to modern thought processes and science, but it misses some of the most basic, these preconceived ideas that we come up with. We think we're so smart. You really got to look back to, ancient times on how people actually interacted with the earth and our environment and their daily life and how they may have lived. I think there's so much more wisdom in that than there is in a lot of the things that we think, is researched and that we're so brilliant. We miss the forest for the trees sometimes. And I think, so anyway, it's very interesting. I'm at this seminar and we're really learning about cycling feast and famine cycles in the body, how that's really implicated. There's so many studies and so much research being done now on how that improves this process called autophagy, where your cells actually self-destruct, and where the body, in periods of famine, where don't have this abundance of calories, where your body will literally scavenge and eat and degrade or break down and clear out diseased cells. And really, it's, if a lot of people aren't, ketogenic diets are in fad right now. It's kind of like this fad. And what I'm talking about is not ketogenic. It is using ketogenic diets, but it's also using cyclical feast and famine cycles. And when you combine that with advanced testing, where you're looking at immune, like so if someone's autoimmune and you're looking at immune reactivity to foods, and you're looking at infections, and you're looking at chemicals and toxins, and you're doing those things at one time, I think we're approaching some pretty amazing times we're just in I don't want to say medicine or science, but it's some pretty amazing things that I think can be achieved. But it's what I'm really learning about a lot more, these feast and famine cycles, and how these different types of diets cause your body to adapt. And that's really the key, is the adaptation of the body to these modifications in diet. And what it does some amazing things to your metabolism. It does some amazing things to your detoxification processes. So what I'm learning about is, and they cited all these different studies. It's amazing. Some of the things that you learn classically in school as to how the body works, like physiology, it's really not the whole story. It's really not the whole story. Because there's a lot of research that's being done on these different topics. So they talked about what I think is really amazing, and I know some of this, but it's just it's being reintroduced to it, and then being reintroduced to some of the cutting edge science and to some of the cutting edge clinics that are people that are utilizing this clinically. The implications for like neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and dementia and Alzheimer's are just profound with intermittent fasting and cyclical feast-famine cycles. I think it's just amazing. So I'm learning a lot of different things, and I'm looking at how I can incorporate that and bring that to you guys and help teach you. But a lot of things that we're already doing in practice utilize a lot of these principles. I think there's just we could go a little further. And it's, one thing that was really kind of interesting was that we talked about a lot of people that like lift weights and that are into fitness, which I love fitness, and it's one of my passions before I ever got into functional medicine, was really this idea of how do you optimize human performance, and how do you build muscle, and so I do a lot of resistance training with weights and all that kind of stuff, and I'm always looking at like how can I, especially as I get older, how can I continue to do that at a very high level? How can I maintain muscle mass and function with longevity? And so one of the interesting things, we were looking at all these different studies, and there's this intermittent fasting where you might go 14 or even 16, 18 hours without eating. That would be, years ago, and the classical thinking behind like bodybuilding, for example, if you wanted to add muscle mass, that would be contradictory to that. You would want to eat, tons of meals frequently throughout the day. And when you start looking at some of the research that they were presenting today, you really see spikes in, when you fast, spikes in growth hormone and moderate ketosis or teetering on the edge of ketosis and burning a lot more fat for fuel, that actually promotes muscle growth, improves your sensitivity to your insulin, and really helps to preserve muscle mass and make you more lean and promote strength. Now, when you utilize feast days where you feast or you eat larger quantities of, maybe you eat more carbohydrates, it really helps to promote a really profound anabolic effect, where your body's promotes much more muscle growth and gain, and there's just all kinds of positive benefits to that. So it's something I'm going to be experimenting with. I'm going to be measuring, and I measure quite a bit my own. I use I have a glucometer and a ketone kit. It measures my ketones in my blood and the glucometer. It's by Abbott Labs. I've got one of those that I use, and I'm going to start doing ketones and glucose every day. When I wake up, I'm going to do it every day. I don't do it every day. I used to just use it to look and see if my ketones were, if I was in a ketogenic range, if I was trying to achieve ketosis, which is burning fat for fuel. I would use it for that. But I'm going to start doing glucose and ketones at the same time in the morning, and then before I eat. And I'm going to be really looking at that very closely. because it's just some very interesting things. I mean, it'd be too much to get into here, but it's really, really pretty amazing. So, let's see. Hey, Brandy. Hey, Christy. Hey, Crystal. Hey, Connie. You're welcome. Thank you for the compliments there. Yeah, Connie says, it's hard to find a doctor to take time to coach or help. Absolutely, absolutely. The mainstream. You guys have heard me say it a lot, I think, but in mainstream healthcare, it's just they don't have time. They want to help you. They want to help you. I mean, for sure, your doctors want to help you guys. There's so many stressors that you wouldn't believe, and most doctors are employees, right? So they're literally on a production quota. If you've ever worked in a manufacturing environment or on any kind of job where you have a production quota, whatever it may be, if it's sales or manufacturing or whatever it might be, if you have a production quota, you have a production quota, and your employer will write you up or fire you if you don't meet that. Most of your doctors are employees. They are on a production quota. So they want to help you, but most of them don't have any kind of idea of the stuff that we talk about. And so when you bring the stuff that, like, I teach you guys to them, they're just, most of the time they don't have time, so they're just really skeptical or hesitant to discuss it, or they might even be negative towards it. They're really just trying to protect you. But they don't have time, and they don't have the training to communicate with you intelligently about that. And quite frankly, if you're going to your medical doctor for the stuff that we talk about, you're just at the wrong place, because that's not what they're trained in. Unless you're going to someone that very specifically has training in functional medicine, and they are trained in Hashimoto's very specifically, you're not going to be able to have a conversation that they're going to have any kind of agreement or with you about what you discuss. And we need both, guys. We need people that are dealing with colds and viruses and other pathological processes, and we need people that are specialized in functional medicine. But functional medicine is very much a specialty. There are very few people that understand this stuff at a really high level. There's a lot of people, like I'm here with a lot of people that are going through training, but I talk to people all the time, and even amongst people that get training, there are huge differences in experience and skill level, and some people know certain conditions that they work with and the drivers of those things very, very well, and they understand that piece of it better. And so anyway, my point is just that it's frustrating. Yeah, it's frustrating to find doctors that will sit down and talk to you, but they just don't have time, guys. And when you're on a production schedule, you're just, it's kind of, unfortunately, it's just not the right place for you to get the help that you need. And I'm not making excuses for them to have bad attitudes or treat you poorly, or treat you with bad bedside manner, but it's just not the right place, unfortunately. Hey, Kristen. Hey, Jessica. Yeah, the interesting thing is, Jessica was talking about, I'm not a prescribing physician, and I never wanted to be a medical doctor, ever. I never had an aspiration to be a medical doctor. My father-in-law's been in medicine for 30 years or more. And whenever I was looking at going into healthcare, he was already in my life. And I said, I'm thinking about doing this, going into becoming a chiropractic physician. And he was like, well, he said it's not a bad thing. And we talked about the differences in medicine and in chiropractic, being a chiropractic physician. And there was nothing appealing to me about what he was doing. And actually, when I started researching it, there's the background and the education is very, very similar, very similar. Whereas the medical doctors get a lot of, they get more pathology and they get pharmacology because they're going to prescribe medications. I would get more nutrition and more biomechanics and more. I'd get biochemistry and some other things in a little bit more detail. So for me, I never wanted that responsibility or that burden. I mean, at all. And so what I try to do is help people with diet, and nutritional supplementation, dietary interventions and nutritional supplementation, if appropriate, to be as healthy as possible. I mean, I've looked at going, I could go and I could transfer a lot of my credits and probably take me a year or so to get like a nurse practitioner's degree where I could have prescribing rights, but I don't want to do it. I don't want those because quite frankly, guys, a lot of the people that I see, they have thyroid symptoms, but it's not their thyroid hormone levels. See, the large majority, I would say 95% of the people that I work with, it's not their thyroid hormone levels. It's the rest of the physiology that's breaking down, which doesn't require a prescription at all to work with. It actually, what it does is, it just wouldn't really benefit me that much or a lot of people that I work with. That's why we need a team, right? That's why we need a team of healthcare providers. Would it be helpful sometimes? I mean, maybe, but it's not something that's to the point in my life or my career where I'm willing to take away 2 years from my practice or my family or my growing kids to try to get prescriptive rights. It's not going to benefit me because there's a lot of people that can prescribe. You should be able to find a doctor that will work with you on that. There are people out there that will prescribe you thyroid hormones if you need them. But the majority of people that I see have issues with inflammation. They have inflammations with thyroid hormone physiology where they can't transport the hormone correctly. They're not converting it in the liver correctly. They have gut dysfunction that's not allowing them to convert it properly. They have problems with using it at the level of their cell. So what ends up happening is that there's no need for the medications. They're already taking more medications that they've been given more medications than they probably actually need because the doctors are just trying to help. So they're just giving you everything they can for the symptoms. So I'm a root cause investigator, right? That's what I'm trying. So I hope that helps. But yeah, I'm with you, Jessica. That's why you have to have a team. Yep, Cindy, that's where I was getting. Cindy says, "Hey, a coach so I can self-treat or work on myself for a lifetime." Right? So you're empowered. That's what it's all about, guys. Empowerment. Hey, Sandy. Hey, Roxanne. Do I think the thyroid affects mental disorders such as bipolar? 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. Your thyroid hormone sets the rate for everything. It sets the rate for your metabolism. Thyroid. If you have thyroid, listen, guys. If you have any hormonal problems with any gland that produces a hormone, right? Whether it be the pancreas and insulin, whether it be the ovaries and estrogen, whether it be the adrenal glands and cortisol, whether it be the pituitary gland and any of its hormones, any gland that produces any hormone, any endocrine problem, rule out thyroid dysfunction. So Roxanne, yeah, and neurotransmitter balance, absolutely 100%. It's all, the thing is, when you start looking at how the body works, almost everyth's connected. If you can just imagine a spider web, and you touch the corner of the spider web and you pull it, the entire web moves, right? You touch the spider web and you pull it, the entire web moves, right? You might get a little bit more movement here, but the entire web, you pull the entire thing. That's really how our bodies work. That's why you can't just look at someone, just one particular marker and understand every aspect of how that's affecting them. You can't. You've got to look at everything else, and you've got to try to be a better, what I try to do is be as good as I can, be the best physiologist I can. So understand how the body chemistry works so that whenever I'm looking at labs and I'm looking at symptoms and I'm trying to figure things out, I can see patterns. That's a huge, huge thing. Hey, Shannon. Hey, Bonnie. Yeah, I agree. Bonnie says, I'm grateful for the medicine. Absolutely. You got to be, guys, everything. I just try to encourage you guys, come from a place of gratitude. Man, I know some of you guys are exhausted, beat up, tired. You feel robbed of time. You feel cheated, and you can be really angry. You don't feel good. It's completely normal, guys. It's completely normal. But I'm going to tell you, one of the most powerful things that I've learned is that if we can always, every day, try to wake up and come from a place of gratitude and be thankful for the opportunity we have, for our heart to take another beat, to take another breath, to see another sunrise, those are profound. I mean, we have a fighting chance, guys. A lot of people don't have that. And I think when you go just to the fact that, hey, I'm alive another day, I have another day to fight, have another day, that's huge. That's huge. It's not to be taken for granted. You know, there's a lot of people that will never have the opportunity of today. Every single day I tell myself that. Every day. When I take my son to school, I say, Reed, so what are we doing today? What do we always want to remember? Today is my day. No one will tell me who I am or what I can be, what I can accomplish. And you got to be thankful for the day, right? Be gracious, be thankful for that, for the day. It's really an important thing, guys. Huge. So, hey Susie, hey Jessica, hey Samantha. Samantha says, hey, high intensity interval training is amazing. Yeah, it can be, and when you're metabolically healthy enough to do it, it's crazy. So so guys, you got to hear this. Like I'm really pumped up because one of the speakers, you guys know Joseph Mercola, right? Dr. Mercola. You guys know Mercola? Give me some thumbs up. Joe Mercola, Dr. Mercola, Mercola.com. Everyone that follows me should probably know who Dr. Mercola is. He's probably one of the first doctors to ever do start an online healthcare resource page, right? It's Mercola.com. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you know Mercola. Absolutely, right? So Dr. Mercola is actually here. He's at this conference. He's going to be speaking actually today. He's going to be here talking. He's talking about ketogenic diets and some other things. And there's a lot of people. There's a guy, Ben Greenfield, who is considered probably one of the leading personal trainers in the world. That's he's on the cutting edge of nutritional science with fitness. Is going to talk about ketogenically adapted athletes. So people that are actually performing at a high level that are actually not burning sugar for energy like most people are. So, if you know about ketogenic diets, it's where your body starts using ketones for energy rather than glucose, which is blood sugar, right? So you start burning fat for energy. So he's going to talk about keto-adapted athletes. And so we already got kind of a preview, one of the earlier speakers was talking about marathoners. If you know people that are endurance athletes, right, most of them do what? They carb load like crazy. You see them, like people riding their bikes or doing triathlons, and they're killing their carbs, right? They're running, and people are handing them stuff, and they're knocking back these carbohydrates so that they have fuel to keep going. Well, it's really a very cool thing because there was a graphic that the guy put up today. And the graphic showed you have about, 2,000 calories of energy. If you think about calories as energy to burn, you're thinking an athlete, right? This person's going to be working and driving their body, and especially if they're endurance and they're going for a long period of time, they're going to burn a lot of calories. So he said you got about 2,000 calories to burn when you're in a glucose, when you burn glucose or blood sugar for energy. You burn sugar for energy. When you burn fat for energy, you have like 60 to 80,000 calories to tap into. So these guys that are keto-adapted endurance athletes some of them are killing it. They're unbelievably successful because they'll fast and they won't eat a thing before they go do their long marathons, and they're killing and blowing away their competition. And the thing is because when you're fat adapted, your body has all these reserves because your body has way more calories in fat, even if you're really lean, than it does blood sugar. So guys, there's some really cool concepts and things that I'm going to be teaching soon. I'm trying to see, I'm trying to learn from these guys that are implementing some things differently, and see how I can use that, because I'm always experimenting on myself, right? But I don't really roll that out to you guys until I have more information, until I've got a little bit, at least experimented and know that it's right to share with you guys. So Samantha, Bonnie says, hey, what do you think about juice fasts and cleanses? They're all different, really. The cleanses and the juice fasts, I think they can be beneficial when they're done right. I wouldn't do like high sugar juice fasts, like a lot of the fruits, like fruit juices. As much as, fasting is appropriate, but everyone's going to be different, and everyone's capacity to fast is going to be different. Because a lot of people are going to start dietary programs and feel horrible, and others are going to start them and feel great. So, just like a fast, right? Someone may have, when you fast, your body's going to, you're going to be detoxifying more,
typically. And one of the things that's going to occur is some people are going to be able to do that very easily, and others are not. And so you're not going to feel. Some people are going to not feel good at all, and then others are going to feel fantastic doing it. There's a lot of different factors that feed into that. So overall, fasting and changing. I think fasting and changing your diet, and especially your caloric intake and restricting it, is a good thing. I think it's a good thing. But that's something that I usually don't teach initially to people, because most people just need to stabilize blood sugar for a period of time and reduce foods that are inflammatory so that they can feel better. And that works for a lot of people. But I think that fasting is a really important, is a very important part of really being healthy and optimizing your body and improving your gut, improving your brain, improving your hormones. It's an important part of it. Hey, Brandy. Yeah. Brandy says, hey, I wish mainstream medicine believed that we needed a team, especially with complex autoimmune diseases. She already feels very isolated. For sure. For sure. I mean, listen, guys, most of your doctors, they don't even know what functional medicine is. They are threatened by it. They feel that duplicates them, or they think, they don't even know, but they get the idea that it duplicates them somehow. It doesn't duplicate them. I mean, really what I'm doing is functional nutrition. It's not really medicine. I mean, it just kind of gets called medicine. Not really sure exactly why that is, but it's really more about like optimal health and functional nutrition and understanding. I mean, most of the things that we're dealing with have to do with looking at your biochemistry and optimizing that. A lot of times it has to do with diet and sometimes temporary nutritional supplementation. And we use the supplements to help support healing of the body in a lot of cases. And those should be temporary, right? The supplements aren't long-term. So, yeah, most doctors they're just not sure how it fits into what they do. Guys, think about this too. If your doctors are seeing 40 people a day, they're back to back to back to back, they're stressed out, they're employees, they have to do notes after they're done seeing people. Then they're going to spend 2 hours, 3 hours doing notes. It's 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. They've got kids and they got a family. They want to go see them. But they've been seeing people since 8 o'clock in the morning, all the way through. Now they're having to do notes. They're stressed out. They're going to miss something. They've been feeling the stress of the day because so many people are sick. They're not getting better. They too, many of them feel like they're just giving medications to kick the can down the road. They're trying to help you with the tools they have, but they're not making a real impact. And a lot of people are really desperate, and they don't know how to help them. They're stressed. So when it comes to working with someone that does like something like I'm doing, do you think they have time? How much time do they really have for a note to come across and them to read that and put it in your chart and make any difference in their care? I mean, really, guys, healthcare is, it's not a, for most people, most doctors, I mean, why do you think that really, physicians have one of the highest rates of suicide? It's not because it's like all, vacations and the high life. There might be more. They might have more income than the average person. Granted, but that doesn't mean that their life's better. Sometimes people equate having more financial means to more happiness. That's not true. There's a lot of people that don't have any financial means that have a lot of things that you can't buy. So, yeah, it's, Brandy, I digress. I'm really good at that. A lot of, Brandy, it's just hard to create. I mean, really, we're going to have to create integrative teams. More of it's going to be, we're going to have to create more integrative teams. Or the doctors are just going to have to say, you know what? You're dealing with someone that does functional nutrition or functional medicine. Awesome. Great. Let's just see how we can help you, right? And they just have an awareness of it. They may not know it, but they're like, okay, so we got other people that are trying to help you be healthy naturally. Listen, the biggest thing, guys, one of the biggest issues that I see is that I'll see people that they're working with like 2 other doctors when they come to see me. And I'm I'm like, wait a minute, wait, and it's not just like, it's not like other doctors. It's not like you're working with it's not like they're just working with their primary care physician or an endocrinologist. No, they're working with like a naturopath. They're working with like an acupuncturist, and they want to come see me for an opinion on their thyroid. Guys, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is this. You have to follow, like if you're working with someone and they're trying to guide you on a protocol to be healthy, it's almost impossible for me, for example, to integrate with what someone else is doing with you, because they might have a different approach or thought process on what's causing your problems. So my approach is going to be different than theirs. So you're taking their supplements, you're taking dietary advice they give you, then you come see me, and then you want me to give you my opinion dietary advice, and you think it works better. It usually does not. It's kind of like, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, right? You've got to have you got to follow one person and follow that through. That's because, and it's just, it speaks to the desperation of the issues. People are so desperate to be healthy that they grasp at every single thing. So, you guys are online or on Facebook, you see my live videos, you listen to some of my other videos, you watch my whiteboard video, and you're like, oh my God, that's it. I'm going to go to this guy for my thyroid. Guys, I work with thyroid, but guess what? I work on everything else at the same time, because you have to do it that way, right? We just connect because I deal with the thyroid a lot, and I've got a lot of experience and education in working with thyroid dysfunction and Hashimoto's. So we connect on that, right? But if you're going to work with someone, like seriously, follow one person's advice, from like a natural perspective, right? You got your allopathic or medical doctor that's prescribing your medications. You got a functional medicine doctor that's working to help you with diet and supplementation. It's ideal if those two people can talk, at least communicate on some level, right? And then maybe you have your specialist. There's room for a whole health team. There is, but you don't want to have like multiple people doing the same thing, because then everyone's stepping on everybody's toes. You're getting conflicting information, and it's just not going to work well. So I hope that makes sense. Again, I digress. Hey, Brandy. Yeah. Doctors should be in control of their patients' care, not insurance companies or CEOs. It's true. It's one of the reasons that I don't take any insurance. The main reason I don't take insurance is because insurance does not cover anything that's functional medicine. They don't. If it's being billed as if your doctor's taking insurance and you're seeing someone that says they do functional medicine or integrative medicine, they're not billing it as a functional medicine visit, because there's no such code for that. And really, the insurance companies only pay for things that they believe should be paid for. Okay, it's called medical necessity. And in order for your doctor to see or see you under your insurance plan, your doctor signed on a contract that said, "Hey, I agree to follow this insurance, your insurance company's guidelines for care and treatment." So if they do anything outside of those guidelines, they can be penalized. They may have to pay the money back to the insurance company. They may be threatened to be kicked out of the network. And here's the big thing. If they do something repetitively, if they order testing that's not necessary under the insurance company's guidelines, and believe me, they're very restrictive for several reasons, then your doctor can be accused of fraud and go to jail for ordering labs for you. So as soon as I became aware of this, I said, you can forget it. I am not under any circumstances going to be treated like a criminal for doing what I think is right for people. Ever. So it's going to just take it's going to take time, guys. It's just like the stuff that I'm sharing with you is something that has been, the functional medicine information that I share with you guys is usually stuff that's 10 years old, 5 years old, 1 year old, a few months old, like the research and things that come out. So no one that's not going to make it into, that research is not going to make it into a textbook for, a year or two. The textbook is not going to be taken and adopted into a medical curriculum for years. And then once it gets in a medical curriculum, it has to be taught to the students. Then the students have to graduate and make it into practice. You're looking at a 15-year or longer lead time before new research gets into a field of study. So no wonder your doctors are behind and things are outdated. It's because this information is behind. So the insurance company is the same way. The insurance companies are trying to base what they do off of science that is, 15 years old. But also, medical necessity and what the insurance company determines is necessary is influenced by research. Who does the most research? Pharmaceutical companies, right? So they have research supporting their drug, right? And I'm not saying that those things haven't been helpful, because they've helped a ton of people and they continue to help a lot of people. But the fact is that there's a lot of money involved in it, right? So what gets paid for and what doesn't get paid for. So hope that helps, guys. Your doctors are trying to help you out. I promise you they're trying to help you. They're real people that care about you. I promise you they are. I promise you. I don't know anyone that got into medicine that didn't want to help people. Now, there's exceptions, I'm sure, but most people got into medicine because of a personal experience, or they wanted to help people. They're nurturers. They want to see people live a good, healthy life. Hey, Phoebe. Yeah, endocrine and the study of the hormone, the endocrine system is very fascinating. So Phoebe said if she ever goes back to school, she wanted to go into something in medicine in the endocrine field. I will tell you that everything works together. So just, try. One of the problems I see with specialties is that they only focus on what they do, and that's good if you're dealing with like pathology and you're doing surgery or something like that. But really, if you're trying to help someone figure out drivers of a process, you want to try to understand the best that you can just overall physiology, right? And how things work together. Hey, Audra. Yeah, Audra, I agree. Yeah, doctor means teacher, guys. So all your doctors, that's what it means. You say, hey, doctor, you might as well be saying, hey, teacher. You can call me whatever. I don't need people to call me doctor at all. It's just a title. It doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah. So Samantha says, hey, you and your father-in-law should join forces. Maybe. Maybe so. Sometimes you just want to take a break, and he might want to do that whenever he's done practicing. Because he still does a lot. He's in hospice. He's a director of hospice, and he's doing amazing things, teaching students. He's a teacher as well. He's a phenomenal person. He's got a lot of knowledge to share and give. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Kathy said, so are you a doctor or a chiropractor? I'm a doctor. I'm a chiropractic physician. So that's I have training in functional medicine. So years of it. So yes. I am a doctor, but chiropractic physicians are doctors. So Kathy was asking if I was a doctor or a chiropractor. Well, we're both doctors. I mean, there's all kinds of doctors. So Bonnie says, hey, what's the best, Synthroid or Armor for Hashimoto's? I'm on Synthroid. Should I try Armor? Guys, Bonnie, those are all things that you really have to understand. Some people do better on those T3, T4 combinations. For different reasons. And those desiccated hormones, those natural desiccated hormones, the NDTs, which is like the Armor and the Armor, Nature-Throid, WP, Thyroid, those types of medications, they're desiccated hormones. So they have T3 and T4, whereas like the other synthetics like Synthroid, levothyroxine, that's going to be synthetic T4. Okay? So there's different reasons that those might be beneficial. If you don't convert T4 to T3 well, then sometimes people do better on those. And also those desiccated thyroid hormones have T1 and T2 in them, which we don't completely understand all the implications, but there are other potential benefits. Some people do well on those, some people don't. Yeah, Phoebe said she switched to Armor and feels so much better. Nancy, thank you very much. I'm glad the videos are helping you. Hi, from Ireland. How would you know if you had gut dysfunction? Well, do you have any symptoms of GI problems? Do you have excessive gas? Do you have partially digested food in your stool? What kind of, are you having symptoms, first of all? That's your first clue you have a gut problem. You could do a stool panel. Stool panels will also assess bacteria, parasites, and yeast overgrowth, inflammatory markers, and the localized immune system. You could do an intestinal permeability screen, which it's a blood test that looks at immune reactions to the things that make up the gut wall, right? The components of the gut wall. Let's see. Samantha. Let's see, guys. Lots of comments. Just trying to read through them here. Yeah, Mindy. Mindy says she's struggling with her health. With her health, she needs help. Mindy, I'm doing the best I can to help give you guys direction. Holly says, hey, what do you think of a ketogenic diet? They can be very, very helpful. It just depends on the how it's done, and ketogenic diets have foods in them that can be reactive to the immune system, that can cause an immune response, that can promote autoimmunity. So it just depends on what your mix of problems are. Remember, if you're autoimmune, your autoimmunity is going to be as unique to you as your thumbprint, right? It's going to be very unique to you. So the things that you need to do are going to be unique to you. There can be some generalized things that you can do, like a ketogenic diet might be reasonable, an autoimmune paleo diet might be reasonable. You're welcome, Roxanne. Bonnie, vegetable juice fast might be more reasonable. Definitely. Hey, Jamie. Yeah, Holly. So do I feel that anyone with a thyroid disease or Hashimoto's always has a specific root cause? I think there's always a combination of things that are contributing to your problems. But yeah, listen, to develop an autoimmune condition, you have to have three things. You have to have intestinal permeability, which is basically what we call leaky gut. You have to have a trigger, something that initiates the immune response, and you have to have a genetic predisposition. So there's always something that was an initiating trigger. That the trigger may not actually be the thing that's perpetuating and driving the autoimmunity, but there are drivers of that process, and those tend to be partially digested food proteins, pathogens, and environmental chemicals. Okay, stressors are also very relevant. Hormones and cortisol are also relevant to perpetuate and drive autoimmunity. Hey, Mindy, if you need help, or if you are interested in an appointment or just consulting with me, just go to our website. Go to drbradshuk.com, just drbradshuk.com, and you can go there to application for care and just look at what our to figure out if it'd be a good fit for you. But I do consultations and stuff as well, so there's a lot of different ways we can try to help you out. So if you're interested in that we might be able to work together. Hey, April, I hope you're doing well up in Kentucky. Yeah, hey, Roxanne. Everything insurance pays requires a PA. Not real sure about that, what you're saying there. Is soy bad for people with Hashimoto's? In general, I don't like soy, guys, because soy, for a lot of different reasons, it's one of the most genetically modified crops, number one. Number two, it's a very, very common allergen, because it is in everything. I mean, it's in salad dressings. It's a very cheap oil. Soybean oil is very cheap. Another thing is that it has phytoestrogens, so it has estrogen mimicking properties, which most of us do not need. So I'm not a huge fan of soy. Fermented soy like natto is going to be better. Yeah, thanks guys for chiming in on the is soy bad. I see that now. Soy, it's usually not good for thyroid dysfunction. That's right. Yeah, let's see. I'm just reading, guys. Awesome. Let's see. Yeah, so Brandy, I think you were diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis, and your rheumatologist taught you about HLA-B27, right? Which led to your diagnosis. Awesome. Yeah, I see. Everyone has something to offer, guys. It's really, really important to know that. All your doctors have something to offer. We just all need to work together as good as we can. Diet's huge. Yep, Susie. Maria, you are welcome. T3, T4 normal is okay to take just to get thyroid. Usually, guys, usually if your thyroid hormone levels are normal, your breakdown in physiology is not quantity. It's not the amount of the hormone. There's something else going on. I mean, I would start like if you have normal thyroid hormone levels, and I don't mean a normal TSH. I would look at if you have normal TSH, but you need to know your total T4, your free T3, okay? Reverse T3 and T3 uptake at a minimum. That's my opinion. If those are all optimal, then I would look at inflammation next. That's where I would go next. I would look at inflammatory markers, because inflammation is a huge, huge problem. Probably the most common reason that people still feel bad even though they're taking thyroid medications. Because like I said, most people that I see they do not have a problem with thyroid hormone quantities. It is another problem. And there are numerous other, there are at least 24 ways that thyroid hormone physiology breaks down, guys. And quantity of hormone is one. Armor's worked for Tammy. That's awesome. Hey, Bonnie. I'm glad you like this video. Shoulders. Phoebe said that the thyroid problem caused her to have a lot of musculoskeletal problems. Yeah, your body just will not repair and regenerate the same. Elena says, hey, what causes vitamin D depletion in people with autoimmune hypothyroidism? I mean, if your vitamin D levels are low, you've got to look at absorption problems, number one. If you're taking it and you're taking it at a high enough level, you've got to look at absorption issues. So you either need to, typically I recommend sublingual. So you drop it under the tongue, you let it sit under the tongue, and it absorbs through the mucous membrane. Okay, that's one of the best ways that I found to absorb it. You just have to take it at high enough doses as well. And you want to make sure, if you're taking it, you want to make sure you're getting some vitamin A and vitamin K in combination with it, either through a multivitamin, and that you're not deficient in those other fat-soluble vitamins. Audra, I'm not really sure about bacterial spores to balance the gut. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure, like bacterial spores, I'd need to know more. I'm not sure. I can tell you that, we were talking in the seminar today about how fasting actually had been shown to help improve the microbiome. Of all things, fasting. Really interesting. I think there are a lot of different ways to approach this, guys. I prefer the ways that are most natural and probably congruent with how we were designed to work, how our body was designed to work. So the more man-made stuff that we come up with, I think the more likely we are drifting away from like how to be truly healthy. Yeah, so Bonnie says she has to take lots of vitamin D. You're welcome, Diane, for the soy info. Yeah, you're not alone with that. Yeah, Susie's in the UK, can't get T3 uptake. It is so frustrating. I've worked with people in the UK, Australia, Africa, Israel, probably there's other places. Ireland, we've worked with a lot of people all over the place. And it's hard to get labs done some places, guys. A lot of those countries have national, what is it? It's a national healthcare system, nationalized healthcare system, and it's really difficult sometimes to get some of those tests done. You have to go to sometimes a private hospital or doctor to get it done. But sometimes even then it's tough. This is a good one, Bonnie. Does hormone replacement therapy for menopause interfere with synthroid? Ever since menopause, I've had more problems, especially gaining weight. You can absolutely see this, guys. Okay, so remember just a second ago I said, hey, you need to get T3 uptake checked. One of the problems with thyroid hormone physiology is that if your estrogens build up, you can have an increase in these little carrier proteins in the blood that carry thyroid hormone to the cells of your body where they're used. If you have an increase, so if your estrogens go up, it can cause a lot of your thyroid hormone to stick to these little carrier proteins in the blood and stay there and not be free and available for the body to use. Now, one of the other ways you can kind of infer this is if you get like a total T3 and a free T3, and let's say your total T3 is at a normal good level, like at 130, let's say, total T3, and your free T3 is like down there at like, 2.2 or 2.4, that's pretty low. I would expect to see your T3 at like 3 or higher if you have a total T3 of 130. So that might tell you that you have more of the hormone bound to the protein, because that's what the total T3 is. It's looking at free hormone plus the bound protein. So if you have a lot more, if those are abnormal in levels, then there's probably another issue. But if you look at T3 uptake and it's low or near the low end, that's a sign that there's a problem with estrogens. Very common problem I see in women that are taking estrogens and in women that are on birth control is that they're having problems transporting the hormones. So you've got to clear those estrogens really efficiently. And some people, those estrogens might not be the best idea for them. So I hope that helps, Bonnie.
Holly, am I familiar with Thyroid Gold? Is that out of Australia? I think it's out of, or is it New Zealand? I haven't. Yeah, I'd have to look at it again. I haven't seen it in a while, but I'm pretty sure I've come across it. What's the relationship between Hashimoto's and anxiety? I am sorry if I could pronounce your name properly, please forgive me. So there was a question asked, and I can't. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce the name. Room service is here, guys. Hi. I'm good. Thank you very much, though. Housekeeping. Well, maybe I should have invited her in. See if she wanted to meet you guys. I'll get back to my seminar in a second. What time is it? Let me look at the time, guys. Okay, 2:58. Ooh, I think I'm supposed to be back at 2:45 for the seminar for the speaker I wanted to see. Let's see. Oh man, I hate it when I lose the comments. Like, where did they just go? Come back. I'm gonna hit back. Hey guys, Dr. Shook, thank you for viewing our videos. I hope they help you out. If you want to, just subscribe to our channel somewhere here. You can watch a video that YouTube's actually selected for you, so hopefully it'll help you out. If you need any other information or resources, just look in the description. We've got links to our website, to our 9 lab test guidebook, and everything else that we do. I really appreciate you, and I hope you guys have a great